Welcome to the Big O Show on the Overreaction Sports Network, powered by Believe.
Still the same damn kid from Oklahoma, same old dreams hanging off my shoulders, wishing and waiting on a shooting star for all to see.
And now your host, straight out of Oklahoma, former Buffalo Bill, Jerry Ostroski.
I'm still the same damn kid from Oklahoma.
Welcome in, everyone. I appreciate you tuning in to the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network. We are presented by FanDuel, and this is the Big O Show. It is Wednesday, 8 Eastern, 7 Central Time, as always, on a Wednesday night. We'd like to talk Buffalo Bills, and as you know, this show is about the Buffalo Bills, hosted by a former Buffalo Bill. We got a big one this week. Obviously, week one of the NFL season kicks off tomorrow night as the Dallas Cowboys take on the world champion Philadelphia Eagles in the city of brotherly love, and I'm excited. All is right in the world tomorrow. First game of the 2025 NFL season takes place. Now, of course, we've got our own huge game on Sunday night. That game is 8:20 Eastern Time, 7:20 Central on NBC, and Sunday Night Football. Carrie Underwood, the likes, and the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills will play in Highmark Stadium as Highmark starts its last season ever as a facility for the Buffalo Bills before they move across the street to the new Highmark Stadium. And this is a rematch, obviously, of last year's divisional game. The Bills are a 1.5-point favorite over the Ravens. Real quick injury reports. Buffalo Bills, Tyler Bass is still battling that left hip groin injury. He is limited. Obviously, folks, I think this is a bit concerning. I really do. I mean, obviously, Bass kicked in the Tampa Bay game. You could tell that he was not swinging his leg with a full range of motion. He was holding things back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Sunday night. Now, obviously, the Bills have had some kickers in for tryouts. They've not signed one yet, but they've got guys ready to go in case they have to sign one after this game. If Bass, that injury gets worse and he is not able to kick the way we know he's able to. Christian Benford on that list, a groin injury. He was limited today. Dwayne Carter, the defensive tackle, the Achilles rupture. We know that he's out for the season. We've seen the pictures on Instagram and the likes on Twitter or X that he was getting surgery on that Achilles, and he will be unavailable for the rest of the season. New addition to the injury list, Keon Coleman. Not good news for the Buffalo Bills. He aggravated a groin. He was limited today, but wide receiver Khalil Shakir, his ankle, he was a full participant, and cornerback Tre'Davious White, also now we know with a groin injury, did not participate. So just a little bit out of the Bills. Injuries for the Ravens. Cornerback Jair Alexander has a knee. He was limited. Guard Daniel Falele, illness. He was limited. Tight end Isaiah Likely, a huge weapon for the Baltimore Ravens. He is out with a foot injury. He had foot surgery early in July as he is attempting to come back from that. I'm sure we'll see him later in the year. And then fullback Patrick Ricard, he has a calf injury. How, I have no idea. The man's got some of the biggest calves I've ever seen, but he did not participate either. So those are the injury reports for the Bills and the Ravens. And as we get into the show, I'm not going to get way into this matchup as far as, you know, player for player and those kinds of things. This is game one, first game of the season. And, you know, it's obviously hard to do that. We'll get through some 2024 stuff. But at the end, I'm going to give you 5 or 6 things that I think are highly important for the Buffalo Bills to not only do, but also maybe fix from last year. And these statistics are kind of indicators of what kind of football team we'll have. But I did feel amiss if I didn't do this. And this is totally in response to our fan base as of late. Lots and lots of questioning, lots and lots of complaining, lots of emphasis on certain areas of this football team, and rightfully so. I get it. I mean, that's kind of why we do this show, right? We talk about things like that. I now do 2 hours of sports radio every day in the city of Tulsa. Those 2 hours of sports radio are filled with people that have complaints, praises, and all those kinds of things. It comes along with being a fan. It comes along with being a fan of a professional sports franchise. So I'm cool with that. But I want to bring this up. And I think these are some things we need to understand as we move along in the show. But real quick, last year, this is a list of the team records that this Buffalo Bills team had last season. And this list is a little bit long, so please bear with me. The Bills have won 5 straight division titles for the first time in franchise history. The Bills are the first team in NFL history to beat 2 14-plus win teams in the same season. They beat the Chiefs and the Lions. The Bills have won 11 straight games at home, the longest active streak in the NFL. Let's hope it gets to 12 after Sunday night. The Bills went 8-0 at home during the 2024 season, making it only the 3rd time in Bills history and first time since 1990. Buffalo's offensive line allowed the fewest sacks, 14, in the NFL for the 2nd straight season, 24 in 2023. It's the fewest by any team since 2009. The Bills finished the season with a league-low 8 turnovers. It ties the Saints in 2019 for the fewest turnovers in a season since 1993. The list is still going, folks. Buffalo scored a franchise record 525 points and 65 touchdowns in a single season. The Bills scored a franchise record 32 rushing touchdowns in a single season. First time since 1960 to allow less than a sack and a giveaway per game in a single season. The Bills have scored 30-plus points in 12 games, the most in Bills history. There are 8 games in a row scoring 30-plus point ties an NFL record, which was Denver's in 2013. 8 different players have recorded multiple receiving touchdowns in a single season, most in franchise history, most in the NFL. 13 different players have caught a touchdown pass last season, most in Bills history, and ties an NFL record. Buffalo finished the season with a plus 24 turnover margin, making it the best in the NFL since 2012. That mark was the Patriots at plus 25. Buffalo converted a franchise record 16 fourth down conversions in 2024. The Bills are the first team in history to record 30-plus rushing touchdowns and 30-plus passing touchdowns in the same season. And finally, Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, has led the Bills to 11-plus wins in 5 straight seasons. McDermott is the first Bills coach and 5th NFL coach to achieve this feat. There you have it. There you have it. This is still a really, really good football team, folks. All the particulars from this team, except maybe Mac Hollins, are still on this football team. James Cook gets his deal. Josh Allen gets extended. We just recently went ahead and extended Deion Dawkins, which freed up about $8 million of cap room. These guys are still there. This is still a very good football team. So let's not lose sight of that, because I think sometimes in the mix of all this stuff, and you know what? Roy brings up a point over here in the comments. He says, and yet with all those accolades, no Super Bowl appearance. Here's the deal. The Bills cannot control other teams and what they've put together. It just so happens at the same time the Buffalo Bills are good, so are the likes of the Kansas City Chiefs and a team that is historic. Those things happen. I think this is that year where things are starting to even out. And if anything, the Chiefs have declined a bit and the Ravens have gotten better. And, you know, going into this game Sunday night, and a lot of the things that you see in the media and the press are revolving around, and not so in Buffalo. I think in Buffalo, a lot of it is, a chance to start the season off the right way. If you're a player, okay, if you're sitting there in Buffalo right now and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, this is going to be a tremendously difficult team. But if I'm in my locker, I'm excited about the opportunity. I'm excited to start 1-0. I'm excited to start 1-0 against one of our biggest, if not our biggest rival in the AFC, and that being Baltimore, a team that, for all intents and purposes, we're going to be battling with for home field advantage in the playoffs. We'll get to Chiefs later on in the season, week 8. And as you know, we seem to not have an issue being Chiefs in the regular season. It's usually the postseason where we have our issues. But from a player's viewpoint, this is an exciting game. And I think the one thing that the Bills have done as a team, if you look at it, and last night, and I'm not sure that we've ever had a Hard Knocks with as many kumbaya, all for one for all, Robin Hood type moments in it over 5 episodes. The biggest takeaway from the Buffalo Bills and Hard Knocks was all these rumors we've heard about this football team are true. These guys do like one another. They want to play for one another. They have a good time together. And that's awesome. That's a great thing. But when you look at media narratives, and media narratives are real, going into this game Sunday, something has been talked about for quite some time. And I want to get into that. As a former player and a person that's been in situations like this, you have to discuss it. And that's this. When you're a team that has lost to another team in a heartbreaking fashion, and we all know that the Baltimore Ravens lost in Orchard Park to the Bills last year, and what they call the only reason they lost is because of the Mark Andrews drop on the 2-point conversion. If they go ahead and make that conversion, they're going to win in overtime. And I've been asked this question a lot. Is this a revenge game for the Ravens? I honestly, as a player, I'm not worried about the Bills. If you want to look at that game in the playoffs last year, they didn't lose that game because of the Mark Andrews drop. That's where the emphasis went. They lost the game because of the turnovers by Lamar Jackson and the fact that that defense couldn't really stop Josh Allen, as most defenses can't. There's really not a revenge factor. If the Ravens want to be upset at somebody and they want revenge on something, they need to be upset with themselves. And as a player, I would have been upset at myself because we didn't do enough in the regular season to warrant playing at M&T Stadium in Baltimore during that game. We did not have home field advantage. The Bills did. And, you look at this, and here's some of the quotes you've got, because hey, these guys are going to be honest. They're going to answer questions that they get. And this narrative's been going on for quite some time. And this article at NFL.com by Kevin Patra, he writes this. This is from Ronnie Stanley. That team sent us home out of the playoffs, so I don't think it's just going into a normal game per se, Pro Bowl left tackle Ronnie Stanley said via the team's website. We were very unhappy with the result last time we were there. A lot of us will give anything to leave there with a dub. Okay. Matabuke, he says this. He's a defensive tackle for the Ravens. It would be great motivation. That's the last game we played. To go back there and play the same team that we lost to, that we believe we should have won, self-inflicted mistakes. Everybody's pumped up. You want to get that bad taste out of your mouth. That's fine and dandy, folks. But I'm going to tell you this. And this is true. And this is a Mike Tyson quote. And you've heard it before, but I'm going to use it again because it's pertinent in this situation as we break down this game. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. You can be out for revenge. You can be upset. You can have the worst taste you've ever had in your mouth. But the fact of the matter is this: you got to go out there and play. And if you're worried about revenge and you're worried about getting bad tastes out of your mouth, that's right where the Bills want you. The motivation can't be revenge, because when you get revenge, then you got to learn to live with it. You got to learn to deal with it. By the way, that was a quote from Rip in Yellowstone, if you don't know that or not. You can check that out on YouTube. But it's the truth. These guys make way too much damn money, and they got way too much fame to be worrying about revenge. Revenge doesn't do anything. And as a player, I always felt going into games like this, if you get wrapped up in these types of things, you mentally aren't where you're supposed to be, which is in your playbook, which is in your film study, which is in knowing your opponent, which is getting ready to roll. Because, when you look at this stuff, revenge type things is emotions. It gets you all out of sorts. As a high-level player playing a really good football team, you can't be out of sorts. You can't be rolling on emotion. There's emotions in the game, but you got to be stable. You got to be flat. You got to be ready for the next play. So honestly, I hope they're all wrapped up in revenge. That's going to be even better for the Buffalo Bills. Question from Pod Junkie. Question from Bills fan 7883. Excuse me, Pod Junkie. He says this: Jerry, in your playing experience, will the hardest game of the season be a positive for the rookies to get on a roll for the season? You know what? I think this is interesting, and this is a very good comment, because we know that Buffalo is rolling with a lot of rookies on defense, especially up front in the defensive line. Yeah, I mean, this is what better way to get your feet wet than jumping right in? And you're jumping right in playing the Baltimore Ravens at home. They're going to get the full Mafia experience, the full NFL experience right off the bat on Sunday night. If you can perform in this game, you can do things in this game, you can play in any game. So, yeah, I do. I think this is really good for the rookies. We know that this is a team that's going to have to roll the first 6 games with a lot of rookie players until Ogunjobi and Hoyt get back. Obviously, the injury to Dwayne Carter has already fixed some things numbers-wise, so we don't have to worry about releases and stuff like that. But yeah, I truly believe that. And, as a rookie, I'd be pretty dang excited. I'd be fired up. But if we go back to last year's divisional round, the Bills beat the Ravens 27-25 in last season's AFC divisional round, despite being outgained 416 yards to 273. Huge discrepancy, but the Bills still won. Turnovers and not giving the ball up, not putting it in harm's way. Buffalo became the first team to win a playoff game while gaining under 300 total yards and allowing 400 or more total yards since 2015, when the Panthers, in a divisional round game, beat the Seahawks. Interesting stat. Sunday night showdown could be a preview of a January rematch as both clubs attempt to get over the postseason hump. The Bills with 84 wins and the Ravens with 81 each have 80-plus wins over the last 7 seasons, including the playoffs, joining the 1999 to 2005 Colts with 80 wins as the only teams in NFL history with 80-plus wins in a 7-season span without reaching a Super Bowl. So while we like to emphasize ourselves as, the only ones, the Ravens are in the same boat. We're very, very similar. And they've had the same type of success without Super Bowl appearances. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and the likes. It's probably why, if you look at them before the game, after the game, lots of pleasantries between Lamar and Josh, because they got very similar career paths. Last season, just some season statistics before we get into my points of what I think the Bills need to do and kind of statistical indicators that they're going to have a good football team and a good season. Just some season statistics between the two. as these teams get ready to match up Sunday night. Offensive-wise, points per game, the Bills scored 30.9. That was second in the league. Ravens, 30.5, third. Total yards per game, Bills had 359.1, which was 10th. The Ravens came in first with 424.9 yards per game. That's a lot of yards for a team that everybody thinks just runs the ball. They're much more than that. They're dynamic. They can do it all. Red zone efficiency, the Bills were second in the league with 71.6. Ravens, 74.2. They were first. Turnovers, Bills, 8 turnovers. They had the least. Ravens, they had 11, the third least. Look at defensive statistics, points per game allowed. The Bills, 21.6, tied for 11th. Ravens, who are thought of as an offensive juggernaut, or defensive juggernaut, gave up 21.2 points per game. That was 9th. Total yards per game allowed, Bills 341.5. That was 17th. Ravens 324.2. That was 10th. Takeaways, Bills were third in the league, 32 takeaways. Ravens 17. They were tied for 19th. So we'll get into what I believe are statistical indicators for the Bills to have the season we want them to have here in a moment. But we all have businesses, we all have jobs, and we find it hard sometimes to hire people. It's really hard. It's time consuming. You can't find the people you want. You're waiting for the right candidates to apply. You're sorting through resumes, trying to get in touch with potential candidates, finding candidates. It's extremely hard. But here's the deal. The future of hiring looks much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles so you save valuable time. And time is money. And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. You know, when you're trying to find candidates, and I was working as a medical rep salesman before I went on the radio and doing this stuff full time, we had a hard time finding guys to come in and be good reps. And we went through a lot of people, and we wasted a lot of time on people that did not work out. But then with ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with those qualified candidates in minutes. See a candidate you're really interested in, you can unlock their contract info instantly. You got over 320,000 new resumes. They're added monthly to ZipRecruiter, which means you can reach more potential hires and fill those roles sooner, because as soon as you get them in there, then they can be productive in what you need in day-to-day business. No wonder ZipRecruiter's #1 rated hiring site based on G2 at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. And 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. I appreciate you bearing with me as we got through that. Statistics for the season that will determine the Bills' fate. Like I said, we're not going to get into a ton of stuff as far as statistics and things like that, because, hell, we don't have any yet. I mean, it's the first game of the season. But these are some things that the Bills need to work on, they need to fix, or they need to continue to be the type of team that we want them to be as far as getting to the Super Bowl and ultimately lifting that Lombardi trophy. First is this, and this is number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Hell, it's all of them. And that's third down defense. The third down defense has to get better. In 2024, in that season last year, the Bills had a poor third down defense conversion. They allowed first downs at a rate of 43.8% for the regular season. That ranked them as the third worst defense in the league. That right there, if they can fix that, that alone will make this football team much, much better. That is why you saw all the draft capital used on defense in the draft this season. That's why you went out and got a cornerback in the first round. That's why you went out and got 3 defensive linemen. They got to get better on third down defense. There's no other way of looking at it. Second thing is this. They must continue the trend on takeaways and protecting the football. That is something that McDermott teams do well historically. If you look at the numbers historically, Sean McDermott teams do a really good job of protecting the football and taking it away. That's why they've always kind of been there, and then all of a sudden Josh gets locked in on this, and we go away from that one target and this is why the turnovers happened, I believe, with Josh. When you have a target dominant receiver like a Diggs, and he feels the need to force targets to Diggs, it puts the ball in harm's way. Now you have what we call everybody eats. Joe Brady talked about it on Hard Knocks, or he's talked about it in the press conference this offseason, where he said, look, Josh now realizes it's not your job to get targets to specific receivers. It's my job as the play caller to get targets to specific receivers. He's taken that to heart, and he's done a hell of a job eliminating the number of interceptions that he's had last season. Now, here's the deal. It's not like he hasn't put the ball in harm's way. He has. And some of them should have been picks, but they weren't. But still, he's doing it at a much less rate than he used to. The Bills led the league in giveaways, takeaways last year by a pretty large margin. Buffalo finished the season with a plus 24 turnover margin, making it the best in the NFL since 2012. And again, that's the Patriots, who had 25. So again, the second thing, they've got to continue this trend, because when you have a defense like the Bills have, there are certain things you have to do. Because really, while you'd all love to come up, play man, shut everything down, play the run, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. These teams are too good. You've got to do some different things. You got to have some fundamentals and ideals that you hang your hat on. Giveaway takeaway ratio is one of those, and the Bills need to continue that trend. Number 3, they've got to continue to rush the football. It is not a coincidence that Josh Allen's numbers went up and the offense's numbers went up when James Cook got hot and James Cook did the things that he did in the running game. Between that offensive line and the 3 backs we have featured by Cook, and then you got Josh Allen who can run it on command, they have to continue to rush the football, because it sets up their play action. It sets up a lot of other things that they'd like to do on offense. In 2024, the Bills ranked 9th in the NFL in total rushing yards with 2,230. The Bills subsequently were 11th in rushing defense. So while we like to harp on that, wasn't too bad, better than middle of the pack. But the Bills have to continue. So if you're looking at these statistics after 4, 5, 6 games, Bills are in the top 10 of rushing, that's another thing that's going to indicate that then, you know what, they're probably winning games and doing it pretty good. The fourth thing is this, and this is something that it's kind of a weird statistic, because when we talk about explosive plays, you think about vertically stretching the field with receivers, getting the ball downfield in big chunks, or a running back breaking out, getting away from everybody, touching the goalpost. The Bills did rank offensively 6th in the league in explosive plays last season, but it didn't seem like it. They didn't have that vertical or that verticality in the passing game for big plays there. A lot of it was stuffed by Josh, James Cook, some things like that. We've got to continue the trend of explosive plays. We got to even get better than 6th. I think that this offense is primed to do that. Now, hopefully Keon's ready to roll Sunday. If he's not, we'll live with it and figure it out. Shakir's back healthy again. I think Shavers has a chance, although I'm not sure how many times he's going to touch the ball. I mean, there's only one football to go around. But I do think Shavers has that ability to do that. We've seen it in the preseason. Now he's on the roster, and he's got to show that the bag that he's earning is legit. He's got to go out and validate it. We don't know much about Josh Palmer. And that's the thing about this Bills team this offseason. Hell, we've hardly seen him. Starters haven't played. So to talk about continuity, to talk about relationships, to talk about gelling, to talk about that trust between Josh and receivers, hard we don't see it in preseason games. Now, I was at practice at St. John Fisher. I saw it in practice. There's a different kind of command going on, folks, and it's cool to watch. And I've talked about it in past Big O shows here on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network presented by FanDuel. I've talked about it many times. He's taken it to another level. So we'll see how that goes. I'd like to see the Bills more explosive plays out of them, especially in the passing game. Defense, which is built to stop explosives, okay? To stop explosives is what they're built to do in that 4-2-5. Hopefully that trend continues. 5th, and this goes hand in hand with coverage. This has to happen. The Bills have got to increase their sack numbers. You cannot expect all the onus to be put upon the defensive secondary. And that is the point I've been trying to make recently with just the outcry for any safety that's walking the street we want to sign. Any cornerback that shows up, we want to sign. We're fine. We're fine. I'd like to have Trey White start. I'd like to have, Hairston play. I'll be honest with you. If Dorian Strong walks out there in the first huddle or the first defensive play of the game against the Ravens, I'm not going to be shook. I think Strong's going to be a damn good player. More in line with a Benford type than a Hairston type. When Hairston comes back, hell, don't worry about trying to teach him a ton of stuff. Say, go out there and play press man and win. Safeties, they'll play better as everything in front of them is better. But here's the deal. Here's the thing. The secondary will play better if this defensive front gets home. That's why you saw Brandon Beane go out and draft so many players. They've got to get more pressure on the quarterback. Bills were 18th in sacks last year. They had 39 total sacks. The defense was 11th in pressures. Greg Rousseau was 4th in the league in quarterback hits. Those hits, and I think it was around 13, those hits need to become sacks. Or some of them, half of them, a quarter of them need to convert to sacks. Because when the secondary knows that the D-line is going to get home, the secondary plays different. You play with less cushion. You take more chances. You try to jump routes. You do different things because you have the confidence in the back of your head that my defensive line is going to pressure the quarterback and get home. Now, that being said, this might be a tough week for that because we know Lamar's got that Houdini in him like Josh does. And out of the pocket, he is an absolute witch as a runner. He is so dynamic. And a dynamic in a different way than Josh is. But they've got to find a way to get to the quarterback. And I'm not just saying bring 5 and 6 because I do believe that. We have not seen what this defense is going to do in the preseason. The amount of criticism the defense took, that's fine. They played vanilla. They played plain Jane. They didn't prepare for the Bears. They prepared some for Tampa Bay, and you saw the difference. But I don't think you're going to see this defense do the exact same thing that it did in the preseason. I think they've got a lot of length, athleticism, and bend up front. I think you're going to see them move. You're going to change gaps. They're going to try to penetrate. That's another thing I'd like to see him get is more tackles behind the line of scrimmage, more TFLs. Those are, to me, explosive plays. So if you want to put the defense in on explosive plays, I'm fine with that. But this D-line has got to gel, it's got to mature, and it's got to play at a high level. Because the way the secondary plays is very, very much tied to that front 5 or that front 7, front 4, however you want to look at it. It's tied to the D-line. So we need more sacks. We need more pressures. We need more hurries. We need more quarterback hits. And finally, the last statistic is this. This is something the Bills have been doing pretty well as of late. It was an indicator last year. I would expect nothing different. The red zone efficiency dominance must continue. In 2024, the Buffalo Bills ranked 2nd in the NFL for red zone scoring percentage. Touchdowns only, not counting field goals, it was 69.62%. That's big. This means they scored a touchdown on nearly 70% of the red zone possessions last season. That has got to continue. That has got to continue. Especially with a young defense, it's trying to get its feet in the ground, trying to get momentum, trying to learn. And I'll say this, Bills fans, you need to be patient. I know that's not a word that you like because the best defense this team's going to play is probably around week 10. And now, a lot of that's going to have to do with health and things like that. But I think this defense by about week 10, those rookies are definitely with their feet wet. Hoyt's back, Ogunjobi's back. It looks a lot different. You figure that Hairston's back, Trey White's healthy. We'll see how the rest goes. But we're going to need that defense to get better and step up. And a lot of that's going to be this offense is going to have to take the brunt of it a little bit early. But I do think that you're going to see 5- and 6-man pressures and a lot of movement up front by this defensive line. Bills fan 7883 says this: McD was a Jim Johnson guy. Yes, he was. Sean McDermott coached in Philadelphia under Jim Johnson. Johnson was a badass. He was one of the best defensive coordinators in football, and sadly passed away with an illness. Jim Johnson, the guy who was probably the most blitz-happy DC in the NFL history. In Carolina, he made the double-A gap blitz famous, albeit with Kuechly and Davis. McD is aggressive. Well, we'll see how that goes. I hope you're right, because aggression is good in my eyes. So anyway, those are some of the points that I think that are indicators that are real important for this Bills team if they're going to have the season that we want them to have. First, again, third down defense must get better. No exceptions. Second is continue the trend on takeaways and protecting the football. Third is continue to rush the football, the running game. 4 is explosive plays. I want to see more, especially in the vertical passing game. Also tackles for loss on defense. Increase sack numbers. That's a must. And then red zone efficiency must continue. So we head into Sunday night. Lots of question marks. Some people may have even written the Bills off. I have not. The Bills can win this game, and they've showed they can win it in the past. They haven't gotten any worse. If anything, they've gotten better. And I think we'll see a hell of a game on Sunday night. It'll be interesting to see what Babbage and the likes do against those power sets. It'd be nice if the fullback for the Ravens is out. That can limit some things and maybe help the Bills. But it'll be a really, really good game. And I expect a huge crowd that's rocking that place as we start the last season in Highmark Field. So once again, folks, thanks for watching. If you're on the podcasting platforms, thanks for listening. Hit the like, subscribe, tell a friend. We appreciate you. For John and Joe, thank you. We thank you. Take your time to watch our shows and all that stuff. And we're very, very appreciative. So we'll be back here next week with more. And as you know, we got our full lineup of shows. One thing I will say is this. I am going to change this show a little bit. We are going to go to a hardcore player perspective. We're going to kind of dive into the week that is and the 7 days leading up to kickoff. And we're going to change some things. And hopefully I've been in talks with a national guy, going to get a co-host on the show. And between the two of us, we'll change this thing up a little bit. And we'll dive deep into the player's psyche and just what do players think about and what are they looking at and what do they find important during the week as they prepare for a game like this Sunday night at home against Buffalo. So as we solidify that, we'll let you know the plans. We'll let you know the name change and all that. But we'll still be here on Wednesday nights at 8 Eastern time, 7 Central. Just a little different show. And we'll be diving deep into the player psyche as far as game prep goes and the week leading up to game time. So as always, folks, thanks. I appreciate you. And we'll catch you on the flip side. And don't forget our other shows on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network presented by FanDuel. Also hit us on our website, overreactionbuffalo.com. We got everything you need. All the articles from about the Bills are pulled to that website, as well as our shows and everything else. So as always, folks, much love. Go Bills.
I'm still the same damn